Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast, our very first episode, and I'm very, very pleased we managed to get here finally. Today, I'm going to dive straight in and give our warm welcome to our guest. He's a good friend, he's a colleague, he's on TikTok, he's on Spotify, but of course I'll let him talk about that. Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger. Hello, Mark, how are you?
I'm all right, mate.
So before we dive into anything, obviously you're on TikTok, you're on Spotify. Can you let everyone know kind of, what you do on both platforms? Kind of give us a brief description.
Well, basically I cosplay as a few characters on TikTok, most notably the Red Cornish Ranger. Obviously I've been dubbing my hand into other ones. Most recently the Cornwall, which is kind of a creation for me of a Mandalorian. On Spotify, obviously, I do my podcast, which is Nerds Through Comics, which adapts comic books into audio dramas. And also post a load of your stories and stories even I've written on there.
Yeah, see, that's really cool. Okay, so we're going to dive into both of them. I got a few things to say. Let's start with TikTok. What actually got you doing TikTok in the first place? Like, what made you download the app? Was it making content first, or was you just bored and wanted to scroll through TikTok first?
Basically, I was bored and I wanted to see what the fuck was about, really. So I thought, let's have a try of it. And then I started to watch through them and thought, well, I wonder if I could do this. So I ended up buying something cheap and I ended up getting that Red Ranger helmet, my first one, and it just exploded from there. And before I knew it, I'm doing what I'm doing.
So how many followers do you have on TikTok at the minute of recording this?
Well, it's something along the lines of about 6,000, I think. But I would say take 1,000 of those off, probably. Because how I got up to my 1,000 was I did those follow trains that you do where you comment, and anyone that likes your comment, you follow them, and then blah, 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 and you go on like that to gain the followers. But the rest, since the 1,000, I haven't really done that, and I would say the rest are genuine-ish followers.
So you obviously are known as the Red Cornish Ranger. Did the character come before TikTok? Like, did you always want to make your own sort of like Cornish Ranger, or did that come after TikTok?
That really sort of developed after I got TikTok, because I just figured, all these other ones like Eternal Ranger, Ghostly Shadow, and all the others having unique names, I just thought, well, I need a unique name. I need something unique to stand out. So, I mean, I started off under the guise of Marco DeCanio, which was just a nickname that I had when I was a chef. But then it slowly developed into the Red Cornish Ranger, and it was just, I got a Red Ranger top. I kind of wanted to get a Green Ranger one. I mean, I was a stickler for the one as the Green Ranger, but I also got the Red Ranger one. I also like red; it's my favorite color, and he's also one of my favorite Rangers. And yeah, it just went from there. And eventually, I got the shield given to me, and got the power sword made, and the helmet, and everything. And yeah, it just all sort of slowly came together.
So yeah, because people who don't know, on TikTok, you've actually got a full-blown original character cosplay, don't you, from head to toe? You've got your own helmet, the shield's got your Cornish flag on it and things. You've actually now you've got officially a Red Cornish Ranger, an original character cosplay, which I must admit is really cool. Yeah. I've been following you for a while now. This because of you, that's how I actually met the Zero to Hero network and all this. And watching you go from, I saw you in the red jacket too. I know what you're on about. And with the red helmet, and seeing you go from that to what you've got now, it's only been 2 years. That's absolutely awesome. So who else do you cosplay as other than the Red Cornish Ranger? Who else you got?
Well, obviously I've developed some of my own characters. You've got the White Cornish Dragon Ranger, which is a customized Legend of the White Dragon helmet, the JDF film that he was doing with Bat and the Sun. So I sort of like molded that into my own character, or that is power up from Red Cornwall Ranger. I'm now doing the Conolorian. Again, it started off with it was like a cheap Mandalorian helmet. Originally, I was going to do it with, but then I won a competition last year to get a new helmet, and then I just thought to myself, well, do you know what? I need the armor. I need some kind of armor. So I fished around with a few of the 3D printer people I know. I got talking to this guy I met at Comic-Con last year. I also went to the one that he does, which is at the Princeton Pavilion, and he works for a charity, or he runs a charity called True Butterfly, and it's to help kids that have been abused and mistreated, to help them cover by doing cosplay. And he gave me, well, he didn't give me it 200, but all that money went to the charity. And so I got the armor, and well, the boiler suit, or whatever you want to call it, is a old thing from my college time. And I just built it from that to create the Conolorian. I also play my own version of the Doctor, which I just sort of like call him the old man Doctor. Like, he's supposed to be beyond any regeneration that we're at the moment. And I can also dress up as the red and white and green Mighty Morphin Rangers. I've got each of the helmets, and I've got like a decent muscly suit of the Green Ranger, and White Ranger suit, which is the White Dragon Ranger suit as well, funny enough.
Yeah, it's really cool how you decided to go with, when you wanted to get something made for you, you gave the money to someone where it's going to go for a charity, which is a good cause as well. Instead of just paying someone, you went with the charity way. That's really cool. So when it comes to TikTok and cosplaying and things, do you get like a lot of hate? Do you get a lot of like bashing like against you, or relatively okay when it comes to you cosplaying as all these characters?
Well, a lot of the time it's fine, but you do get the streamer trolls. I mean, I haven't had any recently, touch wood, he says, but I might end up with some time soon. You always do, unfortunately.
Have you had any comments that you've literally sat there and gone, "That's funny," because someone's wasted their time just making that comment, or are all of them just a bit on the nasty side? You just decided to not bother?
I mean, I always try to not bother, but there is sometimes that you'll catch them and they'll be like, why have you even bothered making that comment? What is so disinteresting in your own pathetic life that you've got to scroll through TikTok and comment nasty things on other people's pages? It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. So on TikTok, you started doing skits, and you started doing skits to kind of like showcase the fact that some of your cosplayers are getting some upgrades. Some of your cosplayers are getting more stylized and stuff. And now you've also just done some.
I've lost you a little bit, Ty.
Oh, there you go.
Are you back?
Okay, so my question was, what made you start doing skits? Because you've done skits where you've kind of promoted your upgrades to your cosplays, and you've also just done funny skits in general. What kind of got you into the whole doing skits on TikTok?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of people do them, and I've been slowly catching some videos with people using CapCut and that, and I was just sort of thinking to myself, it might be a bit fun to make these funny ones. And then they just sort of like, some of them come into my head, like with the whole therapy with the Doctor. You had obviously Jason and what was supposed to be Tommy having an argument, and it just was just something that I thought would be funny that popped into my head. Most of them just pop into my head at random times, and then I try to flush them out and do them. But yeah, it's just a bit more fun, to be honest, and especially since now you can do longer TikToks as well. I mean, when I started, it was only a 1 minute TikTok, 30 seconds, and yeah, now obviously you can get up to about 10 minutes, I think. So why not take advantage of it and do some little funny ones and more inventive ones?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. They're actually quite funny. I do like the one where you've got the doctor talking to is it Jason and Tommy? Is it meant to be Jason and
Yeah,
Tommy that he's yeah, I do like that one. That one's good. It's a good way to work around your cosplays and kind of bring them to life. Our studio partner, Cosplay Dude 67, or Willie, he's also done a few skits now, hasn't he? And he started using his cosplays to a bit more to his advantage. And
yeah.
so let's dive into Spotify. You said your podcast Nerds Through Comics, and we know that you adapt you adapt comic books to audio dramas. What kind of brought that along? What made you want to adapt comic books into audio dramas?
Well, I thought about it for a long while, to be honest, and I've always wanted to do it. Well, not always, but for a decent length of time, I've been wanting to do it. I can remember when they first brought out the Star Trek Doctor Who crossover. I did sort of like think to myself, it'd be brilliant if you could actually hear them, if you could actually, I mean, I would have loved to have actually got all the cast back. So get Matt Smith, get uh, Karen or something, I can't remember her name now, and get the whole cast of Star Trek back, and it would have been brilliant, even if it was just in audio form. And so eventually, obviously, with the kind of approval, you could say, of Jim and Billy, I just thought, well, do you know what? If you guys can help me do this and set it up, then maybe I can do it. And then we dealt out all the cast, and yeah, we've got that out eventually. It took longer than I planned, but still got it out in the end. And it just developed from there. And now I'm trying to do more Power Ranger ones because they seem easier to write as well. Because obviously I've still got to actually write the script. I've got to add some narration and copy out the lines for everybody. But for some reason, the Power Ranger ones, the Boom Comics one, seems to be more easier to do and flow out.
So you've done Doctor Who, you've done Power Rangers, you've also done a Star Wars one, didn't you? A Darth Vader comic? Yeah. So is there any other comic books out there? At one point in time, just like dive in and make it into an audio drama?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit again.
Yeah, sounds right.
I was trying to compensate. Just 1 second. Can I just... There's a message on my phone. I just need to listen to it.
All right, Mark. So you've got Doctor Who, you've got Power Ranger comics. Is there any other comics you'd want to do? Like, do you have like any comics on the list that like you want to delve in at some point that isn't Power Ranger and Doctor Who related?
Yeah. There's a couple. I've been thinking that I would love to do the like Flashpoint comic. Maybe even do the Deadpool, how Deadpool killed Marvel Universe one. I've even thought of like having a bit more of a, shall we say, podcast related ending rather than what the ending is in the comic. So I'm just rewrite the ending a little bit. In the comic, he ends up in the writing room of the very people that are writing the comic. I thought maybe it might be interesting if I make it sound like he's sneaking up on me as I'm doing along those lines.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, there's several comics I would love to do. I mean, I've even thought about trying to do the old Sonic the comic back in the 90s. Thought about trying to adapt that one and even use the kids to add some voices to it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Have you ever thought of like kind of doing maybe some of the one-off storylines? You know, Batman's met the Predator, the Power Rangers have fought Godzilla before. Have you ever thought of maybe doing some of the crossovers and bringing them to life? Because there are a lot of people that want crossovers to happen, and it only happens in comic book form.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, A-Crown actually gave me a list of crossovers as well, and yeah, he was like, very wanting to do them, and yeah, be cool to sort of like do some of the really nostalgia ones, even like the He-Man and Thundercats one. I mean, I could already pick out the person to play He-Man.
I wonder who that would be. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I just know for a fact that there are so many people that love some of the older comics, some of the crossover comics, and you've got this, like, you've made this foundation for yourself of adapting the comic books into audio dramas. So when it comes to voice acting, you said you've got like a set of voice actors and stuff. What's it like working with people and depending on people to actually bring your like ideas to life?
Oh, it's absolutely horrendous. No, it's good. A lot of them are brilliant at what they do. I mean, there is a few that seem to be I don't want to say better at it because you're all brilliant at what you do, but some of them seem to. It's like with James or Beauty Baby Yaga. You know, there's just something she brings to it with the role of Rita.
Yeah,
I mean, all of you do a fantastic job when it comes to it. You know, reading the lines and that. I mean, some of the audios could sometimes be maybe cleaned up a bit, but ultimately this is only an amateur thing anyway. So I'm not gonna fight everyone for giving me better audios or anything.
Well, for those who don't know, I'm actually one of Mark's voice actors. I play Zach the Black, one more from Power Ranger. I'm also Finster, and I'm also
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. I was going to say I knew there was three of them, and I've also said to Mark, if you ever need me for anything, I'm around. I think Dakota, which I believe you turned into Shredder, was the guy. Yeah, I think he's in one of my stories on Tiger Tales. He's in my Digimon story. He plays his human character, his rookie Digimon, and his champion level Digimon. And you would not say the three voices are the same bloke whatsoever. It's absolutely incredible what he can do. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I had to slightly adapt his voice with certain bits on Audacity that I use. But yeah, the majority of it, the way he does it is him.
Yeah. Some of the, I agree with you. Some of the voice actors that we have collectively are really good, for sure. So when it comes to being a voice actor, because you're a voice actor as well, you're one of my voice actors. You voice acted for Cosplay 267. What's that like? What's it like being on the receiving end of being a voice actor?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I as you know, I do struggle sometimes reading them and actually saying the lines and that. And the number of times I trip over my words is funny as hell. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant doing the voices and that, and just even experimenting with it. I mean, like with one of the ones that Cosplay's doing now, you know, I've got to obviously do my voice a little bit different. I do with you with Dr. Dead.
Yep.
Obviously, I like to try to do a more Joker-esque Mark Hamill sort of Joker, or at least I try to do. But I think it comes across quite well. And I try a posh voice for Alfred. But yeah, I just like to experiment with it a lot of the time.
Yeah, I quite enjoy working with you when it comes to the DC and Marvel storylines. I actually had, Alfred and Doctor Dead are in the same story, so you can definitely see your range in that one. Because Doctor Dead and Alfred are both DC characters. And then with Sabretooth, my Sabretooth voice actor, I think Sabretooth is one of my favourite ones to work with because, I don't know, you kind of bring his, like, he's aggressive at everything, but he has no reason to sort of tone to it. You do pretty good, to be fair. So when it comes to roles, is there any role that you would like to do at some point, or any like type of role that you haven't been able to do yet that you'd like to at least practice with or at least try out for?
I seem to be enjoying trying to play villains. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the Draken in Power Ranger comics because I'm playing Tommy as well. And that was literally the reason I chose Tommy, was so I could do Draken. There's a lot of the other sort of villains in there. Like I'd like to do Dark Spectre at some point because he is in one of the comics. And yeah, just to be honest, I'd just love to do a load more bad guys. And I was actually trying to see if I could audition for what would have been King Mondo in the Power Rangers audio drama that they do. But yeah, that doesn't look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. Which I think is a shame. I think they should have had a British person to play a king character.
I'm just saying, if you ever get done for murder or you ever get done for anything like that, and everyone sits there and goes, "Oh, there were no signs," I'm just going to point them to your voice acting career.
Yeah.
You like to play villains.
just point him towards Dr. Dead, because that one is. I think I do that one very spookily.
Honestly, for those who don't know, I have a character called Dr. Dead. He's schizophrenic, and I've given him multiple personalities, and Mark is one of the personalities. He's the main insane one, and I think the last chapter we did of Dr. Dead, where you actually had a monologue, and things, I think that was that to date is one of my favorite chapters I've ever written, ever edited, and ever uploaded. That is so much fun to work with you on that. That was so good. The way you did it, the way I handled it and edited it together, it came out perfect. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, because I kind of had to do it. I mean, it was the same as what I did with the Hulk the End. Because I sort of I was playing 3 characters in that one. Well, more than 3 characters, but 3 characters that were in one body, as it were. And of course, I had to do the old man Bruce, the narrating Bruce, and the Hulk. And I thought it was like the same way I did it with that Dr. Dead one, because you had the ones where I was talking as Dr. Dead, but I was also narrating it as Dr. Dead as well.
Yeah, because with the story, it's in first person. So when the main character Cornelius is narrating himself, then Mark will be the character, and then there are times where his character takes over the body and drives it, air quotes, drives the body himself, and so that's why Mark narrates as well. And yeah, everyone should check out Before Dead Became a Doctor on Tiger Tales of Lost Stories, where you'll hear Mark do a lot of monologuing as his Dr. Dead personality. It's really good, honestly. Like I said, it's one of my favorite chapters to date that I've ever done. I can't wait to start. I'm going to be writing a chapter this month, so you'll be getting a few more lines for Dr. Dead. And cool. It's just a lot of fun to especially because I don't know what to expect with you with these lines, because some of them, like the way that I write it and the way that you give it, 90% of the time actually don't match at all. But I like that really? Though, because there are some lines I've written it in such a way where it's mundane. Like it's such a, for example, let's say you say that you killed someone. I write in such a way where Dr. Dead goes, I killed him. But you write it like it's most hysterical, the biggest, funniest thing on the planet, and it just adds this flair to the story. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I can work with this.
Yeah,
really cool. I really enjoy it.
I was just going to say, sometimes, obviously, when reading your lines, sometimes it doesn't quite feel right the way you've written it. So sometimes you go because I think I've done it with some of your lines where I've actually recorded it the way you've written it, and then I'm well, no, hang on tight. This sounds better if you maybe say it like this. It kind of flows a bit more. Or at least that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens. That there have been a few people that have done that, and I'm like, no, I kind of need the line like that. I don't care how cheesy or weird it sounds, but yeah, there are sometimes you Willie, you've done it and stuff where you're like, hang on a minute. Let me give you the line like this and see what you prefer. And I'm like, oh, actually, no, that works. Like the one thing I like doing with Jared, the host of If You Give It Out a Podcast, he's now one of our voice actors, and he does quite a few takes in one go, just so that I have multiple ways of doing lines. And I respect him for that, because there have actually been times where he's given me Dr. Deadline, not Dr. Dark Side lines, wrong character, and I'll take, from one section, I'll take 2 lines. From his second recording, I'll take another line. And from his third recording, I'll take the last line. And I kind of mix and match them and stuff. He's really respectful for that, because he wants to do his best, and he wants to give us the best he can. And I respect him for that, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it is good. Beauty Bay does that to me as well. I'll get 2 or 3 goes at the way she does her lines, and 9 times out of 10 these days, though, I just kind of pick the first ones. But I have sometimes gone, well, no, actually, the second one does sound a bit better. I'll go with that one. But yeah, most of the time they're just all good. They are anyway.
Yeah, it's fun to work with people. I know sometimes, I think both of us, I think all three of us, me, you and Willie, have had this issue where, some people haven't given their lines on time and things like this. But it kind of comes with the territory. Everyone's got a life. Everyone kind of either has kids or family or work and things, people move house and all sorts. Like currently at this moment in time, I'm waiting for a set of lines. I did tell him, do it to me when he's ready. And he keeps on messaging me, apologizing. I'm like, dude, stop, it's fine. Sort your life out, then give me your lines.
At least he's actually talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we both had our problems with a couple of voice actors. But the majority of them I've had, that they're fine. I mean, there's one person I am waiting for a response back, but I do believe she was having problems a while back as well, which she did tell me. And then obviously I said to her, well, what I'll do is I'll put you on hold for now, being the actor. It's funny, it's the actor for Trini, actually, and that's why I recasted it with your partner. And I'll just leave it at that for now. And if she comes back, she does. If she doesn't, then we'll just leave it at that. I also did the same for the person that voiced Zordon and who was going to voice Zed when he comes into it. He still wants to do Zed, so I might still bring him back as Zed. I don't know at the moment. But I'll stick to playing Zordon because, well, it gives me something to actually do, because especially when I start to do the Go-Go Power Rangers, Tommy's not in it, and I'm not going to have much to do. There's only so much I can play Alpha.
Fair. So you have your Red Cornish Ranger, and you obviously do write your own stories, and they are uploaded onto your podcast. Me and Cosplay 267 have both worked with your characters as well. We've brought Mark the Red Cornish Ranger into our stories and stuff. How did that all start? How did Mark the Red Cornish Ranger go from being a character you're cosplaying as on TikTok to actually officially being into stories? Hey everybody, I hate to interrupt the podcast. First off, I do apologise about the few technical difficulties I had. Apparently my computer doesn't like the internet. Anyway, let's dive in with some fan fiction therapy. So this is the segment where I tell you guys exactly what the Three Ranger Bros have been uploading on our podcast, our YouTube channels, and the such. So first off, we have The Order, written by Cosplay 267, his own original content. His first chapter got uploaded. Here's a snippet of that.
There stood a 12-foot ogre and a werewolf. The werewolf is attacking it. She seems to be determined to protect Van and Bella, not letting them have a clear shot at the thing, though. Eric, get out of here, Van shouts and aims his shotgun at the org. Tasha, get out of the way, so I can get a shot, he shouts. Just as the wolf moves, Van shoots. The shot was clean, and blood splattered everywhere, including Eric's face.
And Cosplay Dude 67 also uploaded on the Power Rangers Universe 19 channel. We have the Ultra Rangers. The next installment to that, here's a snippet.
Sensing the disturbance, the Rangers swiftly ducked down a back alley so they were not seen. Jason's voice echoed.
It's morphing time!
Green Leviathan! Silver Fenrir!
White Phoenix!
Black Chimera!
Pink Griffin!
Blue Kraken!
Yellow Pegahorn!
Red Dragon!
Also on the exactly same day, he uploaded a next chapter to Kamen Rider Wizard. Here's a snippet of that.
The battle raged on in the heart of the city as Kamen Rider Wizard, in his flame-imbued armor, faced off against Nebula Shade. Their clashes sent shockwaves through the air, an intense dance of light and shadow. Your darkness won't prevail against the flames of hope. Wizard, says Nebula Shade, undeterred, lashed out with tendrils of shadow, attempting to ensnare Wizard. However, Wizard's nimble movements and mastery over fire allowed him to evade with remarkable agility.
Those are released within the last week. Make sure you check out The Order on Spotify and everywhere you can find your podcast, and Power Rangers Universe 19, exactly the same. Now, I uploaded quite a few installments to Power Rangers Universe 113 on the Tiger Tales YouTube channel. I won't give you snippets to all the chapters, as I uploaded 4 chapters to Power Rangers Future Foundation, but here's a quick snippet to the most recent chapter. Then suddenly the device exploded. The explosion was a burst of pure white light. Adam, Kira, and Xander all covered their eyes. They lowered their arms as the light diminished. They looked around and saw an empty room. CJ, Luca, Dante, Leo, and Chloe were all gone. So was the dimensional jumper device. What the hell happened? Adam grunted. Where is my daughter? Kira barked. Xander just looked at the two with confusion. I also introduced a new storyline called Apex Rangers. Here's a quick snippet to that. But sir, these beings of darkness, you can almost taste their age. The ancient power older than you. How do you know these things can be trusted? Azazel asked.
I'm aware of the consequences, Azazel. Either way, I know how this universe works. This'll work if they don't destroy the universe. It'll help the chess master at least, whatever his plans are.
The banker barked. Then Rasfa started muttering a spell. And then on Tiger Tales The Game Over channel, which you can find on YouTube as well, I uploaded a first installment to Color Matrix, which is usually on Tiger Tales The Lost Stories YouTube channel, but we uploaded our very first Color Matrix Data World chapter, and here's a quick snippet of that. I petted one of the horses that walked on by. Then suddenly, several Heartless appeared, only a few shadows and a large body. I summoned my Keyblade, the Stroke of Midnight Keyblade, resembling the castle that housed the King and the Queen. I then dropped into my fighting stance, blocking the Heartless horde from the Queen. 2 knights came running up to me. Get the Queen inside, now, I barked. Then, the knights escorted the Queen back into the castle. I turned my attention to the Heartless. And, if you want to listen to those stories and more, make sure you check out the following. Mark's podcast called Nerds Through Comics, where he adapts comic books into audio dramas, and he also tells his own Power Ranger stories. Then we have Cosplay Dude's list of podcasts and YouTube channels. We have Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, Power Rangers Universe 19, The Order, and Sailor Moon E. Found everywhere you can find your podcasts. And then his 2 YouTube channels are One Piece the audio drama and Nostalgia Time. All places, it's Cosplay Dude's original creations and fan fictions, so you could check them out as well. And then myself, I have 4 Tiger Tales channels. We have Tiger Tales, Tiger Tales The Lost Stories, Tiger Tales Game Over, and Tiger Tales The Mysterious Origins. So, you should go find them on YouTube and give them a listen as well. Make sure you give everyone a follow and a subscribe if you can, and of course, we'll dive back into the podcast. This has been your quick minute of fan fiction therapy.
Well, basically, it was Willie that started it off. He basically came to me and said, "Look, I want to bring your character into my show. This is how I'd like to do it." So we came up with a basic idea that he was where he was traveling dimensions. He'd lost his team. We didn't really enclose why and how it happened, and yeah, he just did his story with the fact that it was this Nephus that also turned up in the episode that he was chasing, and it just grew from there. And obviously I decided then to do a prequel series, which was the one that's been on recently, last year, the not Red Cornish Ranger, Royal Britannia. And I'm going to be doing a second one as well this year. which will collide with how Willie brought the Red Cornish Ranger into his story. So it'll bring it up to there and up to date, hopefully. Obviously, you've brought me into yours as well. And the character's just developed over the time, and a lot of input from you guys, and some of the ideas from myself of how I'd like to go about it, really.
So obviously, you said that Mark's been jumping around universes, and you said that you've got a few ideas of how that's going to lead up to Universe 19. I've put you into my Power Ranger storylines. I've even put you in my Marvel and DC universe, where we're currently going for a crossover event. Is there any weird or wacky ideas you've come up with where you it doesn't matter if you're not going to do them, but have you ever thought about putting Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, in a universe that would just be, downright bizarre or weird to the normal mind?
I mean, I did think about having, and if Jim and Billy end up listening to this, I'm probably going to have a go at me, but I did think about trying to see if I could have them come into a universe where Hulk and Skull are the heroes, where they're Power Rangers, but it's still the same Bulk and Skull that I also thought about trying to do one where he ends up in like a Yu-Gi-Oh universe, but instead of him being able to morph in that, he accesses cards that relate to his powers, so he'd be able to summon Jason as a monster, or Jason as a dual monster, and that. There's been other ideas as well, but yeah, I can think up quite a lot.
I think if there's one I'd really want to see, it's Mark the Red Cornish Ranger single-handedly take down Godzilla. I think that needs to happen. I think Mark the Red Cornish Ranger needs to take down Godzilla. I think that'd be great. Because the Power Rangers have done it, but that took all of them. I just want Mark single-handedly save Tokyo.
Yeah. I don't know how he would do that, because he doesn't really technically have a Zord either. Although I've always wondered if he could use the Zords.
So, saying that, you mentioned Zords. What is the power set for Mark the Red Cornish Ranger? Do you want to explain that real quick so people have a bit more understanding of what he can do?
Well, basically, the idea of it was that he found a stone which was and absorbed the powers of Jason's Red Ranger powers, and that's why he looks like the Red Ranger. But in doing so as well, he can access basically all of the Mighty Morphin powers. Because when he got that powers to begin with, Jason was already using the Green Ranger powers. And just through an act of the Morphing Grid, that he can access pretty much all the other powers within that Mighty Morphin power set. So he can essentially call forth all the power weapons. He has on each side, he has a version of Saba. It's not the same version that Tommy had, but it's a version of Saba. And he has a version of the Dragon Dagger as well. So essentially, he could access anything from the Mighty Morphin era if he wanted to.
So, have you ever actually thought about the fact that we do actually have Jason can tap into the Zia Rangers, and Kimberly goes to Jetty powers and stuff. Have you ever thought about maybe making it so Mark could tap into more than just the basic powers, or do you think that'd be a bit too much?
I think that'd be a bit too much, because that would probably make him overpowered, and I'd end up having too much of a what's it called? It'd be a plot, wouldn't it? I'd be able to he can't deal with this in this power set, so he's going to need to change into this power set, which will deal with it. Kind of thing is big our free jail card. So
when it comes to Mark and you've got a team called Royal Britannia. Why Royal Britannia? Why that name specifically?
Well, it's a very British name, really, isn't it? Because you have Britannia. I did read up on what Britannia actually is, but I can't remember it now. But it's a very sort of British word. So I figured Royal Britannia, it sounded really good, and really sticks to it. And the idea obviously is that it's supposed to be an English Ranger, a Scottish Ranger, an Irish Ranger, or more specifically a North Irish Ranger, and a Welsh Ranger along with the Cornish Ranger as well, which is the whole of sort of like England itself.
So I'm actually the one who designed the Rangers for you. I drew them and I sent them to you. And you kind of use the flags as kind of their like color scheme and the way they look.
Yeah.
So go off that idea. Have you ever thought about kind of doing it so like you'd have another team, but they'd represent a different country with different flags? Because let's use like Asia, for example. You've got like Japan, you've got China, you've got Korea. Did you ever think about maybe doing like a sub-team of Royal Britannia where they represent a different country? Or have you only ever thought about just using the UK, because obviously that's where you're from?
I have only just sort of like thought of the four of them, but there is, as people will find out when I do season 2 of Royal Britannia, there is sort of meant to be another 2 Rangers that I've sort of like called Celtic Rangers or Celtic Warriors, because obviously the likes of Cornwall, Ireland, and Scotland, they're all based off of Celtic heritage. There's also another 2 Celts I can use. I can't remember their names, but they're different Celts, basically. I think from or France, I feel like saying, or something along those lines, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I am thinking of introducing them as well later on down the line, if I can work out how to.
Yeah, that's cool. So we have Royal Britannia. Mark's travelled across multiple dimensions between yourself, me, and Cosby 2637, and all this fun stuff. He's currently in Power Rangers Global, which is a collaborative story between me, yourself, and Willie, where he's actually the leader of the team. How do you think that's going? How do you think, what's your thoughts on the fact that we started Mark off with a vengeful, quest of vengeance, like revenge almost, to now he's actually leading a team trying to save a world that isn't even his. Like, you started this off as a cosplayer, and now this has all happened. Like, give me your thought pattern on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the way we've developed the storyline. I mean, I think we're a bit harsh on him sometimes because he seems to be. I mean, Willie started it off that his team is dead. Even the 6 original Rangers are dead in his universe by the time he gets there. And I think he's had a few more disasters happen. Obviously, he's got this darkness in him because, like I say, he can capably use all the weapons, including the Sword of Darkness, and that obviously gives him a more darker thing. And then obviously he lost his team, and he's chasing after Nephis. And I even put him through the rigor in the new out of his hands. So I think it's nice that we have at least given him good to look at with the whole of the Rangers, the global Rangers. Even though we've got a few ahead, I know.
Yeah, it's as I'm the writer for Global, and it's a bit insane for like the fact that I'm writing a character who's just gone through all this stuff, and currently, as of recording this episode, Global's now only just reached the fact that they've got their Zords, they've got their team sorted and stuff. So now I can actually start writing episodic stories and stuff. So I'll be working with the fact that Mark's traumatized a bit. He's got to deal with Nephis still. Sword of Darkness is definitely going to be a feature in a future episode, and I'm looking forward to working with it because at the minute I've just played him off as he's the leader. He knows what he's doing. Everyone should listen to him. He's the more experienced Ranger out of the 4, etc. 5 now, sorry, etc. etc. And so I'm looking forward to playing the other side of Mark. I've been writing the Red Cornish Ranger. I'm looking forward to writing Mark, if that makes sense. So I'm looking forward to it. So with writing Mark the Cornish Ranger, obviously we have done a few variations. I've even made your daughter the pink Cornish Ranger, which was absolutely awesome. I'm so glad I was able to do that for you. Which you've actually made canon now, which I'm looking forward to that, which is awesome. I've killed Mark off about 3 or 4 times. Yeah. I've done it to Billy too. I do apologize. But it's just fun, the fact that I can kill off such a powerful character.
Yeah, well, funny enough, in one of it'd be the second to last episode of season 2, I actually sort of make a comment of that it's because he'll meet a variant in that episode of himself, and he's sort of going to say, well, "This is the first one I've met. I've travelled all these places and I've never met another one. They're either not there or they're dead."
That's insane. That's going to be really harsh. Oh, that's great. So, let's say, Mark wasn't the Red Cornish Ranger per se. Where would you put Mark in a Power Ranger team? If he could be a part of any, and this could include Super Sentai, you don't have to use just Power Rangers. You can use Super Sentai in this too. But if you could put Mark, the Red Ranger, in any team as a 6th, as an auxiliary ranger, whatever the case may be, what team would you put him in?
Ooh, I don't know, because I enjoy all the Ranger teams, so it's very hard to sort of say which one I would put him in. I will class myself as a original fanboy. I like the Mighty Morphin. It's always been one of my favorites. Especially like the Thunder series, or the second Thunder Ring or Thunder Zords. More than that, for actual teams, I don't really know, to be honest. Yeah, it might be interesting to sort of maybe have him as part of the Die Rangers, because that's sort of one you've not really seen and a bit more unique, maybe.
So we've had teams where there are only 5 Rangers. That's happened before, Jungle Fury, and we've also had obviously Ninja Storm kinda, but then Cam came to 6. But with your team, you have 5 Rangers. So is Mark classed as the 6th Ranger of your team, or is he just classed as the 5th Ranger and there are 5 actual Rangers and they don't have a 6th Ranger?
He is essentially the 6th Ranger because of his power set, and as well, Cornwall is counted as England. So even though it's got its own flag and that, it's not really part of anything particular on its own. It's part of England in itself. So it made sense to have him as classed as the 6th Ranger. But we have also, me and you have developed a story where it does actually kind of get reversed, and he's made the leader to begin with. But that's a story for later on.
Yeah, that's true. So going off that logic, then if Gokaiger or Super Mega Force, whichever one you want to look at, had the Royal Britannia keys, Ryan would be the one with the Red Cornish Ranger key then, basically.
Yes, he would, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's cool. So with, we got Global going on. Let's say, Global's all done and dusted then. Is Global going to be the end of the Red Cornish Rangers storyline? Or, do you want to make it so after Global, is Global just another arc for Mark? I hit that round. Is Global just another chapter? Or is Global going to be the end for Mark's story?
I'd like to think at the moment it's another chapter. I don't know where I'm going to go quite with it. I do have plans for a 3rd season, which would technically take place during the Global period once I get up to there. But I'd like to think it's a continuation at the moment, and that we will hopefully develop another story afterwards.
So let's say Mark has now become the next sort of Tommy Oliver-esque character. He's now a mentor. What sort of team would Mark mentor? Because obviously Tommy stayed with the whole Dino Thunder trope, the dinosaur trope. He went from Mighty Morphin, and then his last proper Power Ranger team was Dino Thunder. So that's another dinosaur. So would you keep with the whole Royal Britannia sort of flag-based themed, or would Mark venture forth to a more different sort of team? If he was a mentor of a team, what sort of team would he mentor?
I'd like him to sort of like, if he did mentor, it'd be nice to mentor a sort of like different style of team. Even if it was something like, say, the I don't know what their names are, but, you know, the spirit ones that use the cubes.
Oh right, yes,
In
okay,
Sentai.
yeah, I know which one you're on about. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be quite cool. I do like the look of that series. I mean, it does sort of like have a sort of Jungle Fury or Wild Force sequel vibe to it, but yeah, it'd be good to see it. It would.
So with let's say Mark is, your global's all finished and Mark's still continuing off. Do you have any plans for like another Ranger character? Because you've got Mark the Cornish Ranger, or is Mark just going to be your only character that you focus on?
No, I am thinking up some others. I mean, with so the universe that Mark comes from is called Universe 20. I picked it because Willie obviously started it all, so I thought I'd just go one more than him and do Universe 20. And in that universe, I want to develop more unique stories to some of the Power Rangers of the past. But also, I'd like to bring in some newer teams as well. I've got some ideas for for my own team as well that's in that universe, and even sort of like thinking about Quantum Rangers maybe as well. And you're obviously doing some different Ranger teams as well, and it would be cool to do newer teams and even just different stories around the original teams as well.
Do you ever wonder what would happen if
you give a dad a podcast?
Hello, all my beautiful people.
Hey, Mom, I'm not going to college like we planned. I'm going to take a couple years off. I just gave all my college money to this professional wrestling promoter, and I'm going to be a big superstar one day.
I'm a human and I'm a chiropractor.
I wasn't about to call you dad, so.
I'm what you call a nerd fan.
In the Monos Chronicles, the new web series that I'm working on.
We inadvertently made that kid cry. We didn't mean to.
I mean,
people get really mad at those videos for some reason. Like it triggers certain people. Yeah.
First tryout, made the team, made starting position. I was right guard for a little while.
Hey Jared, that swerve I was going to tell you about, here it is.
It's going to be from a nerdy dad's point of view.
You're starstruck. It's not a big deal, man.
I am being starstruck.
I made a really good career out of being able to bump, sell, and I had a punch me face.
That's why they call it If You Give a Dad a Podcast.
Exactly. Available everywhere podcasts are found.
Yeah, we do have plans for me to bring in a subgenre of Jungle Fury, sort of storyline, which we very cleverly actually linked to Jungle Fury. And me and you have also been collaborating on some storylines that revolve past Rangers. They're kind of like not one-offs, but I guess that's the best way to describe them. I don't know if you want to describe them a different way, but I guess one-off storylines, they kind of like give a continuation to some of the stuff that they get up to. And it'd be cool to see what you come up with. I'm looking forward to, the next couple of years because I think with you, you can disagree with me as much as you want, but I think since you've been friends with me and Willie, and obviously, we're always talking, our group chat's always, going off and things, I think you've gained a bit more confidence in your, not writing ability per se, but your ability to translate writing to product, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think you definitely, I can see what you've done from Royal Britannia Chapter 1 all the way to what me and you discussed that you're going to do. I think you've gone so much better at adapting yourself into your story writing skills and everything, and it's a pleasure to see as well, because you do quite often come to me and William. We do it, all three of us do it to each other, and you quite often come to us and go, "Oh, I've got this idea," And me and Woody have gone from having full-blown conversations to literally going, yeah, Mark, cool, because we don't need to feel like we have to jump in because you've done it all by yourself. You know, you're really good at it now. And there are storylines you've got planned, which I am looking forward to as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes I'll record a message to you two. It's not even these days to ask for your opinion, even though I say I need your opinion on this. It's more, I just want to talk it out. And then I kind of it was like something we discussed. Oh, that was it. It was in one of the stories I did where I asked you guys, who should this person go talk to? Because he needs to find out stuff. And even though you both gave me no, I think you only gave me your opinion. I don't think Billy did. But even after I recorded it, I was like, no, I now know how I want to go forward with this. So I did it anyway. But it's good also to hear different things as well, because it can spark some extra ideas as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love the fact that I can come to you and Willie, and now A-Crown actually. A-Crown's kind of become someone I can go and talk to as well, because I've currently got my Power Ranger Universe 113 kind of developing and like growing throughout January, and I think it's chapter 35, which will come out near the end. Willie said one sentence to me a little while ago, and I was like, "Huh?" Question mark. So he left me a voice message to explain himself, and that chapter 35 wasn't even going to be a thing. It wasn't even going to exist, and because Willie said this one sentence to me, it's now a whole chapter. I've now changed one character's entire life because of Willie saying this one sentence, and it happens. Like having someone to fall back on that you can, translate your stories to, talk about it and stuff. Yeah, it's good. And I think me and you have bonded really well over the whole story writing thing as well, because we're obviously both from the UK. I'm from England, I live in Wales, you live in Cornwall. We're on the same time zone. Sadly, a lot of our friends, like Willie, there are 6 hours, 7 hours behind us. So, if we do want to get anything out of them, we've got to wait until it's dark. We've got to wait until it's nighttime for us, before we get anything sort of said and done out of them. And yeah, it's just fun to build stuff with. And I'm currently working on a story that is Power Ranger related, but it's going to be original between me and you, like we discussed a little while ago, which will be Lost Stories. So that means you'll be doing some narrating yourself and things, and I look forward to hearing how you're gonna what sort of Power Ranger you're gonna come up with and stuff. And yeah, it's just fun to have a. I know we call each other best friends, but we're also kind of business partners, and then we're also kind of confidants. And it's just I think we have a list of we have a list, don't we, of things that we are. And it's just fun to see. I think it's gone to a point now where I look forward to hearing your original stuff more than your comic book adaptations, which I still listen to. Obviously, I still enjoy them, but I think I look forward to more your original stuff because you've just gotten better at it as well. So
yeah, I mean, I am using obviously an AI to help me write them, but it's not. I still write it myself. I basically write it all out myself, and then I'll put it into the AI just to give it a bit of a spice to it to help just bring the words better together. I literally just say, write this like a Power Ranger style show or Power Ranger style episode. And I tell it to keep the dialogue as well, because most of the time the words I write want in it. But then sometimes it will change it, and I've got to edit it. But then sometimes it will change it, and actually it sounds a bit better that way.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I've used AI to help me make some monsters, because sometimes it's a case of, I know how the chapter's going to go. I've written the chapter, it's flowing well, and now I need to make a monster. I need a description, I need a name, and I'm just I'm now either going to sit here for 4 days not knowing what to do, or I can let the AI make a monster for me and then write the rest of the chapter, So it definitely comes in handy for that.
I think we were actually just... Oh, gone.
I was just going to say that it's not a bad thing using the AI at all. I know that Willie uses it as well. It's sometimes you can't think of everything, especially when you've got plans and the stories that we kind of have. Sometimes there's some help is nice.
Yeah, it just does help. It does. Like I say, most of the time it's all my own words anyway, so it just sort of reorders it a little bit. I don't seem to be writing many monsters though into my story. I must admit, for some reason, but I think it works though as well. I feel like it works.
You watch Power Rangers for the men in tight spandex, not the monsters they fight.
Yeah. That sounds wrong, but yeah.
That's meant to. Oh, that's great. So obviously we have the Zero to Hero network. They've been a big help to us. They've, they're the reason that all of us are kind of doing what we're doing, in the sense. How did you come across, Zero to Hero? Because you were one of the first, guests that we've kind of got around. So how did you come to be a part of this madhouse that we call the Zero to Hero network?
Well, obviously, I started doing my TikTok, and this one guy followed me. He was called TN. His real name was Sam, and he ended up going on the podcast, and he messaged me saying, "Oh, by the way, I mentioned you in this podcast." I thought, "Oh, do you know what? I might as well see this." I'd never really listened to podcasts, never had the chance. So then I ended up downloading Spotify, and I listened to the episode. Like, oh, that's cool. That's nice to little ego boost. It was like nice to hear my name, nice to hear me spoken about. So I then did a video saying as much, and I thought, well, let's promote this a little bit. Let's get the fact that someone's mentioned me in their podcast. I didn't think anything much was going to come of it. And then obviously I got contacted then by Billy, and next thing I know, I'm on this podcast and I'm talking about myself and what I was doing. I think I was like the third or fourth guest. But out of all the ones, we kind of like had an original set. So it was like me, a guy called Clayton who does Neon Lights on YouTube. Good series. It's a shame there's not much more written at the moment because I think he's having problems. You obviously had Jim and Billy, and this TN were the sort of like the first real ones to be on the podcast, and I ended up joining the Discord and becoming part of this Zero to Hero network that slowly started to build up. And next thing I know, I'm dragging a lot of you lot kicking and screaming into it as well.
Yeah, you've actually been like the reason for a few people joining, haven't you? Because you're the reason why I joined.
Yeah.
Because I downloaded TikTok again due to boredom, and I'm scrolling through, and I think the first Power Ranger type-esque video I see is actually from Eternal Ranger, I believe. So I follow him.
Yeah, I think I was probably the same.
Yeah, so because now I follow one Power Ranger TikToker, my feed was just a bunch of Power Ranger stuff. So I got like clips from Power Rangers and Super Sentai, and I had a few other people, and I found you. And then as soon as I saw that you're from Cornwall, I was like, that's an hour or two away from my home city. That's madness. So I thought I'd follow you and stuff, and then I saw your promotion video for Zero to Hero. I was like, well, I'm not really into podcasts, but like if some like guys are talking Power Rangers and giving smack to each other, I'm gonna listen to this. And then I listened, and I messaged Billy going, "Yo, I'm a big Power Ranger fan. If you want to have another geek on there, crack on." And I think I was on within the month, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm sure Jim will correct me. And yeah, I remember they recorded with me the very first time Rebel Ranger was also recorded as well. They did our episodes back to back. And it was the only time I actually spoke to her properly. Other than one or two messages, but yeah, it was really weird recording for a podcast for the first time, and then through that, obviously now I've met like Willie, and then I don't even remember how the whole me, you, Willie thing came to be. I believe it was Willie. I said to Willie I had an idea for a story which revolved his Cyberforce Rangers, and then we spoke about it, and then within an hour we managed to not only figure out this storyline, I helped him out with you because he was confused on how like Mark the Red Cornish Ranger would have worked in his stories, and then within that week I messaged you going, hey, do you want Mark to come into the Future Foundation storyline, like, after Ultra Rangers? And you were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. It just made it brilliant. It just...
And we just started this whole, like, mushroom cloud explosion of of all this stuff.
Before we knew it, we had him bouncing off of everywhere. I mean, I think by the time you did actually bring him into Future Foundation, I think I'd already thought up the concept of Royal Britannia and how I wanted to move it forwards.
We came up with the idea for Magnificent Megaforce, and in Magnificent Megaforce, my main character has an English Ranger key, and he can become the English Royal Britannia Ranger. So you must come up with some form of idea.
Yeah, by then, definitely must have. Yeah, like, it's such a blur these days.
So aren't you also the reason how Jared came to be in the Zero Hero Network as well?
Yes, yeah. Basically, I'm on a couple of pages on Facebook that were kind of for promoting podcasts. The only problem was you got a load of spammers and scammers on there. You had them like they would go, I can listen to 5 podcasts and help promote you, and if you comment on it, comment the link, next thing you get these messages, I'll promote your podcast, but I need money for it, basically.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, so-called professional promoters, but then someone that was in that group created their own ones where they ban these people that come on there. They're exclusively promoting your own podcast yourself, And I basically started to message on these ones that were trying to charge people for promoting their videos. It's like, no, if you want to come to this other page I know of, just message me. He was one of the ones that messaged me asking about it. I sent him the link, and then we just got chatting. And then next thing, I'm inviting him to the Zero to Hero Discord, and it went from there. It did.
Yeah, and honestly, Jared's a great addition to the Zero to Hero Network.
I'm actually on his podcast next week, week after.
Yeah, all of us Free Ranger Bros have actually been on his podcast by the end of January. Yeah, finally. But yeah, no, Jared's a great addition. He's funny. He gets into the banter. Jim and Billy are very banterous people. They throw banter left, right, and center. If it was a bouncy ball, it wouldn't leave would never touch the ground. And we always find him, getting involved and saying hello. And me and Jared actually got a story going on because his podcast is called If You Give a Dad a Podcast. He said to me that he wanted to his dream would to branch out and do YouTube videos of if you give a dad a kitchen, for example, and do cooking tutorials and stuff. So I took that in a fictional sense, and I said to him, why not if we do If You Give a Dad and fill in the blank, and each chapter would be you talking about what you do if you actually had one of whatever. And so it's on the Lost Stories channel, so he reads it himself, and I just love the way he does it. And the first one we did was If You Give a Dad a Dragon Dagger, and I made it so he actually found Tommy's dragon dagger, and it's really cool. The next one's already planned. I've got to write it, and I've already got the 3rd chapter planned. I just need to talk to him about it. And the cool thing is, all of the story I'm writing is his idea. It's what he would actually do if he found these items or had these items or whatever it is. I'm just adding some Tiger Tales over dramatic flair to the events, but it's all his idea. It's what he'd actually do, and he's willing to work with us as well. Because isn't he a voice actor for you now as well?
He's done a couple of cameos. And I am planning on trying to bring him in on a more permanent sort of role in the Boom Comics. I want him to play a couple of bad guys, but they're not for a while. But he's probably going to play a lot more cameos to begin with until I find something permanent for him.
Yeah, with me, he's my dark side voice actor, because I like to get my voice actors involved. This is why you're playing Alfred and Sabretooth, because I said to you, mate, pick a character and you can play him, and you wanted to play Alfred and Sabretooth. I was like, dude, do it. So he said to me one of his favorite DC characters is Darkseid. I was like, that actually works. I tweak his voice ever so slightly. I make it a bit deeper, but it is his voice. You can tell it's him, and he does a fantastic job. But it doesn't A Crown also help you out with Nerds Through Comics as well? If I'm right in saying that.
Well, he was sort of partly the script editor. He hasn't done many recently, but then again, I haven't really interested him either. So it's probably on both our heads. But yeah, he's obviously lent some ideas as well. Like I say, he gave me that list for a load of crossovers and that, and he wants to do a lot more as well. So yeah, I have had it, I say.
Yeah, A Crown's awesome. Anytime I can shout A Crown, I will, because he's always he's the reason why TIE Tiger Game Over exists, which is where all my video game stories are based. And if it wasn't for him, that kind of wouldn't even exist. And I have plans down the year where other things will happen, and it's because I spent a couple of months talking to him, and yeah, it's fantastic, and he's really good at. He's definitely got a mind for story writing. He does actually have his own YouTube channel now. He's uploading his own stories ever so slowly. A Crown, if you're listening to this, hurry the F up. But like, yeah, he's good at it too. He is actually really good. He's got a very unique creative mind, which I like. Saying that though, I don't know if I believe you commented, but Billy of the Zealed Hero Network will be doing some voice work for me at some point soon as well.
It's always enjoyable getting their lines. I mean, yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, they play obviously Bulk and Skull for me in the comic book. I am actually really looking forward to them doing pointless art, because obviously Bulk and Skull have a little different attitude, sort of like in that one.
Yeah.
And even actually when I do Go-Go as well, their Bulk and Skull is more. In Go-Go Power Rangers, they're more the bully version of Bulk and Skull, where in the Mighty Morphin part of it, they're podcasters. Actually, so it's not like really cast two podcasters as podcasters.
Yeah, they Billy and Jim are also nicknamed as the Bulk and Skull of podcasting, aren't they? So I think that's very fitting, the fact that they're actually playing the two characters they're named after. But yeah, I think, when Billy said that he'd love to try voice acting, I was like, dude, I can give you roles, no problem. So his first chapter will be the 31st of January, if I can keep up to my schedule, which I'm hoping I can.
Famous last words, eh?
So, yeah, famous last words for absolutely definite. So we've been rambling on for a while now. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Mark, as my first guest. I do thank you for that. I have 5 quick fire questions for you. I don't want you to think. I just want you to give me your very first thing you think of, and then we can wrap it up. So
I will try.
Ready? Okay. You have a Cornish Mandalorian. Which trilogy, if you could put him in any trilogy, which trilogy would you put him in?
I put him in the 1 to 3 trilogy.
You have to replace one Ranger with Ziggy from RPM. Any Ranger in any season, which Ranger you're replacing with Ziggy?
I want to say, let's replace Cam.
That would be absolutely bloody brilliant. Oh my god. Can you imagine the episode where he goes back in time to get his powers of Ziggy? That'd be hilarious.
It's just be an episode of him going,
Look, how makes the Zords and stuff. Ziggy ain't doing that. They're dead. That Ranger team is dead. Okay. Get rid of a Power Ranger season. Tap it from history. What season you get rid of?
I'm torn between Megaforce and Super Megaforce, but only because of the way it was written.
Yes, 110%. I agree with that one, to be fair. I'd say they needed to do Super Megaforce better and not call it Super Megaforce.
Yeah, I mean, in my Universe 20, Megaforce and Super Megaforce do not exist. But these exist, but the Ranger teams do not.
Okay, give a doctor from Doctor Who another Doctor's companion.
Oh, I'm going to go controversial here. I would love to see from the audio dramas Evelyn Smythe with Peter Capaldi's Doctor, because she was a very, shall we say, she was like a motherly character. And I think he would be much more brass than she was used to, even though she was the companion of the Sixth Doctor. I suppose I should do a TV one as well, shouldn't I?
That's up to you. If you want to give us 2, that's fine.
Give you 2, I will. So, let's have Perry, who was the companion of the 5th to 6th Doctor, with Matt Smith's Doctor.
Fair. Okay, and your last question. Get rid of one Doctor from history. So one regeneration you have to get rid of, and that's completely scrapped from history. They don't exist.
Oh, that's a hard one.
I know, that's why I made it last. I knew who I was interviewing, so...
I'll say John Hurts, only because he was the shortest one. And yeah, I haven't got much of a reason, really.
Okay, so for those who don't watch Doctor Who, or noobs like myself, which generation Doctor would that be?
Well, technically he's the 9th regeneration, but he's basically in between Paul McGann's Doctor and Christopher Eccleston's Doctor,
right?
Who is officially the 9th Doctor. It's because his Doctor doesn't actually technically have a name. He's no longer called the Doctor. He is a warrior, a fighter, and he kind of fits in between. He does.
Yeah, see, I think that's the only thing, because obviously all 3 of us, we have our own likes and dislikes and stuff, and I think that's the only time I sit there listening to you talk and I'm just like, over my head is Doctor Who. 'Cause I do like Doctor Who, and I've watched a few episodes, and I definitely, I do have my favourite Doctors and stuff, but it's just a case of like, I have not watched all the episodes and you have, so your information that you give just honestly either sounds like alien language, which makes sense because Doctor Who's an alien, or it just kind of makes sense, and I have to figure out the rest of it.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Okay, then, Mark. If you want to shout out anything, whatever you want to do, any platforms or anything like that, this is your time. I shall give you a moment to shout out anything you want to shout out.
Well, obviously, follow me on all the platforms. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, X. I'm even now on Threads as well, all under the Red Cornish Ranger. Sorry, X is actually at Cornish Ranger, not the Red Cornish Ranger. Didn't let me have that one. Obviously, Spotify and most podcast platforms with Nerds Through Comics.
Before Mark continue, that's Nerd Throw Comics, because,
yeah,
they're like, Sorry, I had to mention that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can also search it as the 3 Ranger Bros Present, because I marked it as that as well. So, I am also on Cameo as well. If anyone ever wants any shout outs. That's about it, I think.
Awesome. Well, again, Mark, thank you very much for being my first guest. It's been a pleasure to ramble on for, at least an hour and almost a half. So that's awesome. And
that's all right.
Yeah, and
always come back, I will.
Yeah, I was just going to say that people listening, that Mark is going to be one of these people that I do bring on a couple times, because obviously I do live in the UK. There are time differences, time zones. People have lives and all sorts of stuff. Mark is what I'm going to bank as a fail-safe, air quote. So Mark's going to be my backup guinea pig if I ever need any help with it.
Or as comic relief as well.
Yes, and obviously, you guys can listen to us ramble on and judge us, just like Billy and Jim will. Well, more Jim. I don't know if Billy will judge us, but I know Jim will.
No, they both will judge us.
Yeah, they're both. I don't know why I'm hyping that up. Yeah, Billy will judge us as well. Hopefully, I'll have Billy on. That's the plan. But yes, anyway, guys, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe. And of course, I shall be back in every 2 Mondays, so in a fortnight. I shall see you guys real soon.